So after this situation come out recently about Fredo and the whole conspiracy to take out Digga, he put on his IG story just the cap emoji once again, and it's looking like from court documents has come out now because reporting restrictions were lifted. It's looking like he may face his own separate trial for this. So right now we'll speak about what happened with all of these associates, but as you can see on the indictment, he's not listed right now. So it could be a thing of a separate trial for Fredo because he's out of the country. We have to keep you updated, but right now there's not an actual update with the Fredo situation, just the other people in this case. So looking through the court documents now, it says this case concerns a conspiracy to possess firearms to endanger life or another or others. A conspiracy is simply an agreement to commit crime. It is a prosecution's case that these defendants, together with others you will hear about, are part of a criminal agreement with the purpose of which to possess firearms intended to endanger the life of another or other. The prosecution suggests that these 8 defendants are all members of a gang called the Harrow Road Boys, aka Patton Gang, and the Harrow Road Boys were in a violent conflict with other rival gangs. The rivalry was not mere squabbling, far from it. The rivalry was tit-for-tat shootings and murders. If you're going to engage in shootings, you require guns. It was for this purpose to have deadly firearms available to conduct gang rivalries. The defendants in this case, together with other members of the gang, not before the court today, conspired together to possess them. It says these defendants and their co-conspirators are members of a criminal gang called the Harrow Road Boys, HRB, also known as Patton Gang. The Harrow Road Boys associated with W9, W10 area of Queen's Park, Harrow Road and Westbourne Terrace. In particular, they associated with Mozart Estate in W10. Their territory borders that of other rivals, including one called CGM or 1011 Gang, located in W10, W11 postcodes, and another called South Kilburn or SK Gang. In particular, the 1011 Gang is associated with Power Swear, and an individual by the name of Reese Herbert, aka Digga, who's a prominent member of the CGM gang. This person, Digga, is one who will also feature in this case. You will hear across the course of this case about the recovery from the police of both guns and ammunition. You hear how those weapons were connected to members of the Harrow Road Boys, and you hear about the efforts by them to track down rivalries, no doubt with the intention of putting the guns to the only just use after that seeing the such initial have evidence, to most shoot people didn't think they was going to beat this case. With a conspiracy case, you have to just prove intent of causing fear towards someone, and through the text messages alone they had evidence. They had wiretapped their area where they had conversations, and they put forward the UK drill music as well, going back and forth. There's so much evidence, they was always going to get a conviction. They have everything they need to prove that there is some sort of ill will between the two gangs. So Russ has actually been brought up in part of this paperwork as well, like we spoke about before. The rivalry between the gangs was put into context with the events which began 6th of November 2022 at 9:30 p.m. the evening that Russ sent a message to one of the HRB members that is known as Little Dots. A screenshot of the conversation. And the conversations are in this document where Russ says, "Yo G, just heard from tape that Digga is using the studio, but he's not going to be at the studio for a minute, so it's not worth putting up, G." They say Digga is obviously a member of a rival gang, the 1011 Gang, and the fact he was in the studio was true. And they say that Digga was using the studio between 5:30 p.m. on the 6th of November and 1 a.m. the following morning. They say that there was messages exchanged between the HRB member and Russ. It said that Tilson, "What today?" Russ said, "Yeah, bro." He said, "What time? Trying to get a time. Let me know ASAP." He's there now. My man's there right now. Say nothing, bro. Don't say a word. And Russ says, "Yo, I can't lie, I feel like driving there." And he said, "No, I'm patterning something." Then they look into it that the HRB member was actually getting up directions at 10:14 p.m. on the Waze app to go to that tape studio. And it's consistent with the analysis of his mobile phone and movements he made. I'm pretty sure he made his way there before Digga had left. Now, Russ and Digga have obviously had their differences. By this point, Russ has already seen the work from Body go well. He's a millionaire in music, so people were surprised when this has been brought up all these years later. But Russ and Digga have had their issues. Digga's dissed him on numerous songs. Mr. Crud went on no crud when we took his jewels in Chingy's manager. Digga has sent for Russ a bunch of times, and he's obviously got this drop out of surprise, and it's just led on to other things. But as from what I can see right now, because he's putting out stuff still, Russ has not been charged with anything unlike these guys in the case. I'm not sure if they have direct evidence that Russ has committed any crime at all. As part of this conspiracy as well, we got to remember they actually recovered firearms as well. It said on the 24th of October 2022, the police went to search an address in W10. Their target was a flat. They named who it was occupied by, but say their presence was notified by at least one of the members in the Snapchat group. It says that a member sent a message saying a convoy of feds coming to Zart, Zart being a reference to Mozart Estate. And when police did come to the flats, they went into the flat and searched a service cupboard to the flat itself. In there, they found two guns and ammunition to go with them. They were both handguns and they were in 2 separate bags of a cupboard. One of the guns was a revolver. The second gun was a pistol. Both guns found to be in full working order. Actually, one of them was loaded with rounds of live ammunition. So the police found a shoulder bag containing a loaded pistol and a plastic bag containing a revolver. In addition, there was a carrier bag which contained more ammunition. It said that flat 1, the address next to the cupboard where the guns and ammunition were recovered, was the home of someone that featured in this case. Here's someone that's exchanged messages with the defendant who was going to go and target Digga D. The police even sent the weapons of ammunition and the packaging for testing for forensic examination. It actually did say that little dots, that man that was going to go and target Digga D at tape, was found to have matched up with the print. Now, in another part where they mentioned Fredo, it says Marvin Bailey released a music video where he made specific references to finding Digga D. Now, on a freestyle, there is actually lyrics where Fredo had said, "I'll leave you lying in that studio that you're lying in," but not every single bar can be taken literal. They're suggested now that was he referring to Digga D lying about things in the studio and he was going to go leave him lying there that day, but it didn't happen, is what they're referring to. In his music studio is obviously referable to the events of the 6th of November 2022 when efforts were made to find him at the music studio. Now we're going to focus on a different location. Following the seizure of a gun from the flats that we just spoke about, the police team had broadened out the investigation. By the time of the hunt for Digga D, they had installed covert video cameras on another block of flats. The block called Hayden Tower was on Wandsworth Road. This camera was recording the comings and goings in the hallway. The flat was frequently visited by the gang members, with many of them visiting towards the end of October and beginning of November 2022, the same day the police had seized the guns. It was seen in the flat tower that a defendant in this trial and another member of the Snapchat group, both of them had left at 10:45 p.m. that evening. A little after midnight, a third defendant arrived. He was shortly followed by an 8th defendant. It says by 1:30 in the morning, a 6th member of the Snapchat group arrived at the flat and walked in. Various gang members came and went during the 25th of October. They're possibly suggesting that they'd gone to that flat where the stuff was sealed and hidden to go and carry out this target on Digga D. One of the members began to actually search the internet, finding out sentencing guidelines for the offense of possessing a firearm with the intent to endanger life. Then at 11:08 a.m, he returned to the flat 8 minutes later, carrying a Sainsbury's bag that later that day you shall hear that he hid a gun and drugs in a roof for. This case is going to be very complicated and take a while to get through, and there's more documents going to come out. We still got sentencing to go through before we put out everything. It says that Fredo will face his own trial on a UK Reddit, so there's a lot going on right now. Russ is not happy about himself being put in this. He has said on Snapchat, these guys keep pushing false narratives, snitching and saying it's only content, it's already out there. So why speaking on something that's already out there, grown-ass men? If random start confiscating people's phones and saying it's only because of your content, then what? Stop playing with people's lives and freedom for views. N's got real life situations and responsibilities. Stop throwing dirt on my name. If it ain't music, stop posting about, man. Only want to report on street stuff when they ain't even outside. F all of you mug. I think Russ is just frustrated because he's been spoken about in a lot of this paperwork and brought up, but he's not been charged right now, whereas they've actually been charged for the crimes, whereas Russ has been associated in part of a massive document in this case. So actually right now we don't know what is going on with Fredo either. As I made clear earlier, he wasn't even listed on that, so it could be a separate trial we're going to see with him about this situation. And with Russ right now, there's no charge of anything either.